If you've ever gotten a bad review online or want to avoid ever getting them at all, then let's talk about soft skills. Soft skills can make or break your marketing efforts. And my special guest and I are sharing some helpful insights on how you can avoid getting in this situation and bring in more business. Hi, I'm Lindsay Berta, founder of Berta Marketing, a marketing agency designed specifically for small business owners where I handle all of your marketing so you can focus on what you love. So, what are soft skills exactly? Well, soft skills are what make us, soft, in a good way, a great way, actually. They are character traits and interpersonal skills that characterize a person's relationships with other people. These skills make us likable and pleasant to work with. So, why is this important in marketing? Well, in marketing, I always say you want to build trust because people want to work with those who they like and trust. And that really starts with soft skills. Someone could be the expert in their field, but if they make you feel unwelcome, unappreciated, not respected, well, you're probably not going to choose to work with them. Same goes for you and your team. You need to make sure those soft skills are acknowledged at every level because they will affect your business. They will affect every aspect of the client experience from introduction all the way through to the conversion of a new client. Soft skills, or lack of soft skills, will also trickle down through all of your marketing efforts, and I have a great example to share. A while back, I was looking for a particular service, so I was Googling, as one does, and found 3 businesses that I was considering and started reading the reviews. Now, I won't call them out here, but I started reading the reviews for one particular business. Everyone was raving about this person, how much they loved working with this person. Let's call them Sarah for sake of this conversation. Everyone is raving about her. Sarah is so great. But then I started seeing people say, but the receptionist is so rude. The receptionist is so unwelcoming. The receptionist is so disrespectful. And this wasn't just 1 or 2 people. This was dozens of reviews. All of them said something along the lines of, we love working with Sarah, but we had to start going somewhere else because the receptionist was so unpleasant to work with, which is a shame because we loved Sarah. Now, the client experience and client retention is such a key part of your small business marketing because word will spread. You need to make sure your entire team is aware of how their interactions with clients, those soft skills, affect the business because they will bring the entire reputation of your business down. And you can see by just this one example, this personal experience that I had myself, how it even trickled down into those online marketing efforts of the business. And even I, in turn, chose to not do business with them because of it. So how do we avoid this? Well, I, along with my special guest, want to share some tips that you and your team can implement to ensure you get a great client experience from beginning to end and how to then use that in your marketing efforts. I'm so happy to be joined by my friend Brian Grossman. He is partner, art director, and brand strategist at 36 Creative, who also has a passion for teaching creative team management through soft skills and mindfulness to help you be more confident and charismatic. So, hi, Brian, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you on. Now, you and I met through Instagram, and
hmm
that's where I found out that you put out all this content on soft skills, which is amazing content, by the way. It's so
Thank you.
relatable. I relate to it
Thank
so
you.
much. And it's entertaining as well, which is a plus. So tell us a little bit about yourself and
Mhm.
how you found this passion for helping others with soft skills.
Sure. So, to give the TLDR, too long didn't read bio about myself. So, I helped build 36 Creative, though I'm not one of the founders. I was brought on 13 years ago. God bless.
Nice.
There are people in middle school that are maybe younger than the duration I've been with my agency. So, I helped build it up, and along the way, as tends to be the case, I transitioned from designer into an art director position. So for anybody listening that is not from a design background, when you are promoted from design to art director, you're usually promoted because of your ability as a designer. And an art director is somebody that is managing the team that is putting together the creative, the design work, the illustrations, content, whatever, to make sure that everybody is working together, the final product is cohesive, and then it's delivering on the concept and the strategy that you're working with. So the problem with that is that an art director is a manager in a way. You're managing people, and you were promoted from a specialist position. So along that time, while I was starting to get into this art director gig and being messy and making mistakes and doing things the absolute hardest way, I'm sure, I was also kind of getting out there in the creative industry, just in terms of networking within the greater Boston area, and coming into contact with other people in leadership positions at creative agencies, and was suddenly privy to conversations that were suggesting that there wasn't a lot of respect for the people that worked for them, that there wasn't a lot of care or nurturing, and it was a lot of trash talking. Let's just call it what it was. It was like messed up stuff was being said, and I didn't feel good about it, though in the moment I was like, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. And you're like, oh no, because now I'm in that position.
Right, exactly. So I suddenly became aware that perhaps there was this culture surrounding art directors that is toxic and is terrible, because I feel very strongly about treating people with respect and treating the people the way that you would want to be treated. And it was, I won't pinpoint the date or the moment when that happened, but from that point on, from those conversations on, I realized that I wanted to be about something different. And that ended up being soft skills, was relationship building and investing in paying forward all of the things that were given to me when I was in school, when people mentored me and held my hand when I didn't know what I was doing, and made sure that I didn't feel like I was being spoken down to, and made sure that I was being set up for success. Because I feel truly, if you are a strong leader, whether you are leading a full team or whether you view yourself as someone who's just guiding clients through a relationship, it's your responsibility to keep your eyes on their goals and making sure that they are achieving those goals, both, and we're talking about teams, organizationally and individually, or talking about clients, whether that's immediate project goals or other things that you can be setting them up for in the future.
Oh, definitely. And I know you said about, that being projected onto art directors, because that's kind of the environment you were in. But I mean, this could be any industry, and it could be service-based product. I mean, it could be anything. It's really just treating people, like you said, how you want to be treated. So
yeah, totally.
Yeah. So how would you define soft skills exactly?
Sure, that is a good question. So for anybody familiar with that term and you're listening to this, you might be screaming at your phone or your device or however you consume podcasts. Does anybody consume them off of a phone? Whatever. Anyway, you're like, oh no, it's really human skills. Or no, Brian, you should say real skills, because that's what Simon says. And Simon is right. They are real skills, but they are also human skills. So a soft skill, which was the original kind of term that was coined back in like the 60s, I believe, refers to personal and interpersonal skills that are universally applicable or valuable. And the alternative to soft skills are hard skills. And this was how the term soft skills was invented. A hard skill is a technical skill. So for instance, if you're like photography is an example of a hard skill, because it's a craft. that you can measure aptitude in. And you can, aside from like the subjectivity that comes with art, you know what I'm saying? You're either
Yeah.
good at setting up lighting or bad at it. So
Right.
that's a hard skill. A soft skill is harder to measure. It is teachable, but it can be also harder to learn. But you can't say, okay, so conflict resolution is only valuable for
Hmm.
photography. It's valuable for life, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
And, you heard my experience that I was saying about looking at online reviews and how that really affected my own purchase decision in that instance. So I think this is especially important for service-based businesses where clients are working directly with you and with your team. So I would think, and I'm sure you agree, that soft skills really need to start from the top, from leadership roles down through the entire team, making sure everyone is kind of living up to those expectations and those standards that ultimately will fall onto the client. Would you
Yeah,
agree with that?
absolutely. I think one of the tricky things, particularly if you're talking about my background and how I move forward at my agency, but also in any type of leadership, it's there's an additional challenge with soft skills because training in leadership overall is not always accessible unless you're willing to enroll in a special course or something, and you don't really do that until you've already been promoted and you're further down the line. And you're like, maybe I should do something about this. So it, if you do not have talent or ability in understanding how to interact with clients, and for a lot of people, if you didn't come from a freelance background before you were working someplace, that's usually when you first start to get exposed to clients, is when you're
Mm-hmm.
kind of moving up in seniority. So you take your cues by observing what other people are doing. Culture absolutely trickles down from the top. And that is not only internal culture, it's what the culture is like when you're interacting with your clients. And more to the point, whether or not somebody is nurtured or someone receives
Mm-hmm.
any type of training on client relationships falls to the person that is immediately above them, the direct report. So
Right.
I would completely agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And really, it's kind of boils down to as well is we like to work with people that we like and we trust. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that goes hand in hand with soft skills because soft skills really are about respect and kindness and understanding and all of that. So without that, I feel like that's going to push people away in a sense if you're not nurturing those soft skills
Mm-hmm.
and building those soft
Absolutely.
skills.
Yeah, definitely. I
Yeah.
think that when you're hiring somebody at a business, certainly you're going to evaluate the hard skills, the talents, and the abilities that they have. You might be looking for a specific hole in your current team that you're looking to fill, or somebody else is trying to move forward. So you need this new person to have a similar level of aptitude at a particular craft that they had. But when you are interviewing someone, even if you are trying to collect a diversity of opinions and things like that, there's going to be something synergistic about them. There has to be something that connects the two of you that makes you go,
Mm-hmm.
that's the one. She's the one. That's the one that I want. And I
Yeah.
think that same thing exists in clients to a degree. If you're like, soft skills with clients really start on that first discovery call where you are trying to connect with them. It's harder for you to really lay the foundational components of a new relationship if there's a complete disconnect and you just
Yeah.
can't find fusion with them as a person.
Exactly. It's kind of like that's that unspeakable thing, like, oh, we just didn't click, or
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah,
It's
it's
really it's
it's a
not
little dating
tangible.
like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like there was a, wouldn't that be funny if you just like told somebody, thank you so much for getting on this call with me, I'm excited about the opportunity, but I just didn't feel a spark. Like that was why you decided not to take on the
Right.
business. I just don't feel like this is for me. Kind of swipe
Right. It
right. I
really
don't
is.
know what that is.
You hear that a lot though, especially in marketing. You hear that a lot, that analogy of comparing marketing and sales and all of that. I know those are two different things, but comparing those things to dating, because it's very true. I mean, you have to warm up to people. You know, that cold calling, cold outreach doesn't work really well anymore. People want to get to know you, get to trust you. And again, I feel that all kind of falls back onto those soft skills, because if you can make someone feel respected, appreciated, and all of that, I think they're going to be more likely to want to work with you, as opposed to someone who's really great at something, but makes you feel like crap. Right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's funny that we're talking about this, because not too long ago, and so because we connected on Instagram and we create content for Instagram, there is constant conversation about don't do a cold call in the DMs. Don't just like jump into selling somebody in the DMs, because that is very aggressive and it's exhausting. So I had this person show up in my DMs and they didn't have any of the qualities that were like my audience. So I'm like, okay, so you don't appear to be someone that's looking for coaching, and you don't appear to be somebody that is looking to learn about 36. What is this? And there was just a very long, awkward, drawn out, simple conversation that I really wanted to die, but I didn't want to just be rude and be like, look, what do you want? What are you doing? And it was just like absolutely leading into, so have you heard about mining Bitcoin? And I'm like,
oh, wow. Yeah.
Bruh, could you have just gotten to this? Because this was days of horribly weird DMs that I didn't understand.
There's a fine line between having a conversation, and then dragging it out, and then or just selling right away. Yeah, there's a balance there.
Totally.
But so I think we might have already touched on this a little bit, but I wanted to ask you, how do you see soft skills or lack of soft skills affecting not only the team itself, but the overall client experience? So, and then even down to marketing efforts, we can talk about that too.
Oh my goodness. So, so many ways. So firstly, for me and the way that I was taught to form a client relationship, it, just like I was saying before, it's all about that initial connection and showing them as early as possible. Well, so let's talk about active listening for a minute. That's a foundational soft skill.
Yeah.
If you are just waiting for and I do have a very strong personality. So, and I'm very excited to entertain, and there's always like a delay with my internet. So it's like, there's like, the urge to talk over people is great, but I have to actively listen and absorb what's going on. I repeat things back to people to show that I listen. So I'm like, so just to make sure that we're on the page, you said blank. And sometimes it reveals more information. Sometimes, and if not, it's like, yes, that is exactly what I said. Yeah. So it's just not only showing them that you're respecting them, but also really taking the time to absorb what they're saying so that you can offer guidance and you can consult them in a way that's meaningful. If you're just waiting for your chance to have a snappy joke, then it's going to be superficial. Like,
it's all about you, not about them. And we want it to be about them.
Right. Definitely. And also about the two of you, because it's like, if it's transactional, if they understand that you view it as transactional, and if that is genuinely what you feel, then they're like, okay, so we're here to get things done. I can do that. Like, let's get it done. And then you're also probably going to get treated like a screwdriver the whole time. You're not going to get treated. I know, right? It's like, can you make this big? Can you move it to the left? Can you make it a pony? Can you do this? What if we ran it on these? What if we do this? What if we spent this much on that? Like, whatever you want, right? Like, if you want to be treated like a consultant, you need to show them that you're invested and interested and that you really genuinely care. The more that you care about them as a human, the more that you're going to do your best work. So immensely important. If we're talking about marketing, I feel like marketing is like multiple levels of soft skills,
Oh, yeah.
because you not only need to understand your client, but you need to begin to unpack what's going on with their clients or their customers. With
Yeah.
you need to be able to do perspective taking, so viewing something from a perspective other than your own, which can be very separate from
Hmm.
like if you're, especially if you're working with a B2B client, their end customer might be in a world that is so alien to you.
Yeah.
And you need to rely on your soft skills in order to begin to understand them and provide recommendations on how to present your client to theirs. So
Right.
it's like an onion of soft skills,
It
or an
really
ogre.
it really is. Yeah. And then even I also want to touch on the, like I said, that story I was sharing about the online reviews. I mean, it even trickles
Mm-hmm,
into that, the client experience too.
mm-hmm,
Because, right, like you said, all of that leading up to it, all of that understanding the client, understanding your client's clients, and
mm-hmm,
then once you have the client or your client has their client, then there's the
mm-hmm,
client experience, and that's going to lead into word of mouth, online reviews, all of that.
mm-hmm,
So if someone has a bad experience because someone somewhere along that totem pole is missing those soft skills and they start spreading the word, that can be so damaging.
yeah,
Yeah. It,
absolutely. Social media is such like a magical thing for brands, because it creates that perfect feedback loop
yeah.
where, for beyond your ads, just your organic engagement can provide you with the opportunity to learn what your customers want from you, and you show them that we listen to you. Here it is. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like an
Like,
opportunity
you
for
get
both of you to
me.
get something you want. Exactly.
Yeah.
But if somebody shows up in those comments and they leave a spicy comment, because,
Oh,
and this has happened with some of our clients before, and God bless them, it's like, I don't know, their go-to response is to be defensive. And it's
mm,
like, oh yeah, and now all of a sudden it's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, you know what, we could have been, if you practice mindfulness and you just separate and you approach
yeah.
with curiosity and you say, I'm sorry that happened to you. We would love to make it right with X, Y, and Z, rather
Exactly.
than getting into a fight in the comments on
Yeah.
something that you
And
posted.
oh, and that yeah, that just makes the whole situation even worse.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah, and I'm glad you kind of brought up that example because there's actually it's called the blemish effect. So if someone is
mm-hmm,
experiencing this, where perhaps someone did have not a great client experience and they're leaving online reviews about it, like you said, replying, making sure you're replying to all of those comments, good and bad, and that you're addressing the situation, showing that you want to make it better, showing that you care, that can have a huge impact because a lot of times we might look at reviews online and there's 1,000 reviews. They're all 5 stars. And we're like, this is too good to be true. Like, there's got to be
mm-hmm.
something. There's got to be something wrong. Now, if you do have all 5 star reviews, I don't want you to think you need bad ones. You don't. But
Right.
if you do have a not so perfect review, look at it as an opportunity to show your online audience that you will be there to take care of it and you will be there, you will have great customer service and try to turn those
Mm-hmm.
things around.
Absolutely. There's some really large brands on Twitter, particularly. Twitter, one of the purposes of Twitter is to apparently drag somebody
Oh
that you're
no.
not happy with, and you blast them on Twitter.
Yeah.
There are a lot of big brands out there where they are showing how responsive they are by just being on top of the ball. And like you said, showing sensitive and appropriate responses to people
Yeah.
who are in an emotional state. When
Oh
you
yeah.
have a complaint, your mindset isn't great. You're not happy. Like, you're looking, sometimes you are looking for a fight. So being able to diffuse that situation sensitively is going to serve you well, for sure.
Oh, exactly. And I have seen reviews like that where someone initially gives a bad review, then customer service fixes it, and that person leaves
Hmm.
another review or a follow-up review and is like, "Oh my gosh, this went wrong, but they were so great. I will be working with them again," kind of thing. So
Totally.
you can
Yep.
save those situations for sure.
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
yeah. So what are some indicators that maybe your own soft skills need some work or that somewhere along the line in your team um, those need some work or just some things that small businesses can watch for.
Hmm. So, if you are a leader and you are mentoring others and you are observing the way that they are working with one another, or perhaps the way that they're interacting with clients, it's a little bit easier because you're going to see the interactions as they occur. You're going to hopefully be able to at least catch enough of a snippet of something to be like, maybe we could have approached this differently. If you are, kind of a younger leader and you're kind of building up something around you and you're just starting to make the first hires for a new agency, a new business of some kind, it might be a little bit trickier because
Mhm.
one of the ways that you tell soft skills need improvement is in and of itself a soft skill. So self-awareness
Yeah.
is a very challenging skill for anybody to develop because we all have the bias that comes with being like a ghost that's driving around a megazord made of like meat and bones and stuff. Like we're in our own heads observing the world and we only view it from that viewport. So even for the most objective of individuals, it can be tough sometimes to evaluate ourselves honestly. So I believe, and I firmly believe in this, is asking for feedback and receiving feedback constantly, at least in regular intervals, and having a
Mm.
process set up for that. So, and that goes both ways. So you need for somebody that has a team set up, quarterly and annual reviews, quarterly ones to check on performances and annual ones to talk about bigger things and like, recognize the things that need to be recognized and make sure everybody's heading towards their goal. But at the same time, you need to be getting feedback from them as well because of that, meet Megazord thing I was talking about. So,
Yeah.
and that takes a lot of humility and you need to be very direct in the way that you ask for that feedback. If you say,
Mm.
"Do you have any notes for me?" No one is going to say
Right.
yes. We're
Right.
all going to say no because, particularly if you're the leader, you'll be, as I am adorable, guys. I am cute as a button. I strongly suggest you check out my stuff just to see I'm not scary.
I agree.
Unless you work for me. If you work for me, I'm scary as hell and I'm nice. But it's like for
Nice, scary.
somebody who nice scary. I'm scary but nice. Like Nightmare Before Christmas energy.
Yeah.
Um, if you're 25 and you're like just at the beginning of your career, I'm 27. Oh God, so old. If I'm not 27, I'm 30.
Mm.
Yeah, 38. So for them, I am terrifying.
Yeah.
So you need to be direct. If I want to get feedback from one of those people, I need to say to them, "So let's talk about how this project went. Was there something that I could have done better to help you on X?" That is very
Yeah.
specific because that is going to, well, firstly, like, maybe they're just trying to get the hell out of the room and they're like, "I don't want to do this anymore." But if
Yeah.
you say something that inspires something or opens the door, makes them lets them know that it is a safe space to provide you with feedback, they will. If you just say, "We
Yeah.
always have an open door policy," and then that's it, that is
Yeah.
not going to get anything. So
No.
that would be the best way, I think, would be to help improve yourself and also determine whether there's something for yourself to perhaps work on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you said that as how you approach that because people are going to be intimidated by the leader. I don't care how nice
Mm-hmm.
you are, there is a kind of level of intimidation there sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So just approaching that of like, hey, not just saying we have an open door policy, but kind of walking the walk instead of just saying that,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Exactly. Right. And it's like you were saying earlier when you were saying, how much do soft skills need to come from the top? And this is a fantastic example
Yeah.
because particularly as your business grows, like a small business can still include middle managers.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
The
yeah.
term small business is really murky.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to empower the leaders that you will eventually have leading other people, you need to create a culture of transparency and make people feel like it's okay to resolve things on their own without you. Like if we're
Yeah.
talking about efficiency and delegation and stuff, a great leader isn't going to be in the thick of every single thing because it's not possible.
Oh, yeah.
And
Right.
even like two people working side by side, you want them to be able to resolve their own conflicts and talk about it themselves. Have
Right.
those kind, candid conversations.
Right. Because even if you have a team of 4, 5, 10, 20, up to,
Mm-hmm,
100, those are all really considered small, maybe small to medium businesses.
mm-hmm,
So, like you said, it's very murky. There's a wide range there. So, not one person at the top can be on top of everything that's going on. So,
mm-hmm.
kind of has to trickle down. But so you kind of answered this already. What are a few tips that you would give small businesses to improve soft skills? But is there any one in particular? Like if someone is like, oh my gosh, this didn't even cross my mind. Maybe we need to start evaluating things. What's like the first step,
Mm.
I guess, that someone could be like, okay, maybe I need to start implementing some of these things?
I think one thing that everybody can immediately implement. I know I know that mindfulness is an exhausting topic for some people,
Yeah.
but it's really, I feel, a branding problem. I feel like
Yeah.
mindfulness has been branded incorrectly. I had somebody that I work with, Pete DiGeronimo, so he's our business outreach manager. Oh, who I didn't give you an intro
Yes.
to at one point.
Yes. I actually
Hey,
spoke
Pete.
with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Pete went to a conference. Oh no, sorry, Pete. This is gonna be a funny story though. Pete went to a conference and it was great, except for like the first five presenters, all consecutively were speaking on mindfulness
Oh,
and all
wow.
had a meditation as part of what they were saying. That can be a lot.
Oh,
It's a
wow.
lot of
5 in a
mindfulness.
row, too.
I
Yeah.
Right. I'm down with five savasanas. I don't even care. I love it. I will lay on the
Yeah.
ground right now. But for other people, that might be a lot.
Hmm.
So I do have like a Mary Poppins type of presentation for mindfulness in my content, but essentially the premise is to be present in the moment, to acknowledge your feelings, don't suppress, but to understand the feelings that you are having when you are having them. Understand it's okay. We all have feelings and they're all strong,
Yeah.
but to remain rooted in what's going on right now, set them aside and be like, okay, thank you. I'll address you in a minute, but let's return to this conversation with curiosity and stay focused on what's at hand and not allow myself to be swept up in those feelings. That's something
Yeah.
that you can immediately do that is going to allow you to respond intentionally to a conflict when it happens rather than reacting emotionally, which
Yeah.
is only going to make things 20 times worse. I think another thing I would say to immediately get into the habit of improving soft skills for yourself. And again, like you're saying, small business could be 100 people. So also for
Right.
your leadership teams, um, encourage people to have a sense of humility. Like we were saying before, that feedback, be open to learning at all phases. Seek out mentorship at all phases because it's
Yeah.
very hard to analyze yourself, look at all of your strengths and weaknesses, and know where they need to be built. If you are receptive to learning from anyone at any point, honestly, some of the best feedback I've gotten, and I've had great mentors in my career. Hey, Stephen Trent, my managing partners, they were the fools that originally hired me.
Nice.
They've taught me many lessons over the years, but the best things I've learned actually were from people that immediately answered to me
Oh,
because nobody is necessarily going to be able to give me as good feedback on how I am, other than the people that I'm directly leading. And this person in particular did it with kindness, and she did it with clarity. And she said, Brian, I gotta tell you, you talk a lot, and you talk a lot in circles, and sometimes it's hard to understand what the point is of your critique. So I would just ask that maybe there's a way to find the clarity that you need. And I was like, no taking. But you're on a final warning, so I'm gonna fire your ass in a minute. No, but it was getting lessons like those from people, like clarity in communication, strong soft skill. I would not know that because I have a fear of over communicating. I wouldn't know that that was something that I had to work on until someone made me aware of it. So being open to those things will help you grow.
That's great advice, is be open to, I hate even to use the word criticisms, because they're not always criticisms, though we tend to look at that in a negative light when we say criticize, right? So, but yeah, just to be open to those things, to improve, to grow. And then, like you said, you learn from people who, like how you learned from your mentors, the way they treated you. Now you're going to treat people the same way as well. So it just all trickles down. It all works together. And we're all just humans with the same feelings, and we just want to be respected. And really, at the end of the day.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I will go down a tangent as fast as I am able. But kind of touching back on what you were saying earlier, it's not just for teams, it's also for clients. If you want to find the perfect way to ruin a relationship between you and either a team member that you're trying to have follow you or a new client, is to make them feel like you're talking down to them. Oh, like that is immediately going to ruin everything. So that respect, communicating in a way that is respectful and is kind of clear.
Yeah.
Is
equal.
Absolutely critical. Equal. 100%.
Yeah. Love that. But yeah, so a really great advice. Thank you so much for sharing all of the advice, your stories, all of that. And you're always entertaining. So I really appreciated you being on today. Love it. But yeah, so, just what we touched on, like creating a great client experience, it really does start with soft skills. I mean, I believe it does. And, making that client feel special, feel appreciated. That's all part of the client experience. Clients who have a great experience are going to talk, like we talked about, whether that's good or bad. So, you can use, the things that you've been talking about here today, use these to your advantage. And at the end of the day, like I said, people just want to be treated like people. They want to be treated like an equal, and we want to work with kind people. So I would say for more tips, follow Brian on Instagram. It's at I am Brian Grossman. He has some really great content and really entertaining content. I love it. And, we can all learn something from and relate to his content. So, and I know I have. So thank you, Brian, for sharing all of this with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I was happy to do it. And, also, Lindsay, just thank you for starting the podcast, because it was I told you before, it was my fantasy to have your smooth, calming voice coming out of my phone on a regular basis.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, when everyone started saying, "Hey, you have a nice voice. Do you have a podcast?" And I was like, "I don't, but you've given me an idea." So here we are.
Absolutely. It's I'm so happy to see it.
Thank you. All right. Well, hey, thanks again.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you once again to my guest, Brian Grossman. I hope you found this discussion on soft skills to be informative. And you can see that creating a great client experience starts with soft skills and makes clients feel special and appreciated. Clients who have a great experience are going to talk. You can use this to your advantage. Ask them for reviews online, ask them for referrals, stay in touch, and be sure you are marketing to existing clients to keep them coming back for more. And once again, I'm Lindsay Berta, founder of Berta Marketing, a marketing agency designed specifically for small business owners, where I handle all of your marketing so you can focus on what you love. For more small business marketing tips, subscribe to this podcast or find me online at bertamarketing.com. Thanks for listening.